All right, so hello everyone. Well, earlier I mentioned that I wasn't going to be able to make a video for another month or so, but it looks like I might have another 10-20 minutes. So instead of waiting a month, I'm going to try to see how much I can get done in about 10-15 minutes. So I mentioned the openness, how we have too much openness or very few openness as far as Factor 5 of personality, or the big Factor 5, the O.C.E.A.N acronym, that how that can affect us in relationships, at work, or the way we see things. Too much as far as, not enough, where we are creatures of habit, where we don't like change, don't like to, we'll gravitate to routine and don't like new ideas, or don't think we need new ideas. Then we lose out, as far as if, the people in tech, I guess, how they're very fast paced, they will not innovate fast enough, or as far as or the ability to adapt in a relationship too. And then I guess the opposite is, you are able to adapt, you're able to grow, you're able to listen to other people's perspectives. That's a good thing, right? You're able to have, you're open to different cultures. You don't see them as other, you see them as people, just like I'm a person, you're a person, we're still people, right? Not so much different, even though we're different. But anyways, so I guess more openness, that's where you are able to, I guess maybe that's why people like art, right? And all the aspects of art. Maybe that's why they're able to have constructive dialogues? Question mark, I'm not sure, right? I don't know. If we're in an echo chamber, is it because we're too close-minded? Question mark, I'm not sure. Like I said, I don't really have the answers. I'm asking just as a curiosity, because I am still looking into this. I'm still in this journey together, I guess. But anyways, as far as trying to grow in the locus of control and the reality testing, so just know that as far as reality testing, I guess what we seem to think of reality, and if we are captured by distortions, that could be catastrophic in a way, as far as the month turns into years, and how if we're able to adapt or not. Remember, imagine this do give birth to inner turmoil at the end of things. So, and then before I get to the obsessive-compulsive personality disorders, as far as ideas, are they really about ideas, or is it more about who we are, and then the lack of insight, where if we begin to open up, and we begin to be aware, then can we grow? And if we yearn for different, we begin to see better values, and whatever that means, right? Whatever our value is, better values. Is there such thing as better values? But higher values, better values, will that yield higher goals and aspirations? And then do we pursue that? Question. I'm not sure if I know. I mean, I have an assumption, but does that come from openness, or lack of openness, or close-mindedness? As far as the values, is it? And then also, what do we prioritize? Does that have to do, maybe not, right? What do we, as far as distortions and prioritizing, those go, is there a correlation between those? Maybe not. But as far as the internal struggle, external struggle, I guess the question I have is, how do we prevent a downward spiral in the future, right? So let me transition because maybe I will touch. I have only a little bit of time, so let me see if I can jump on this next one. Compulsive personality disorder. So one of many, and like I said, not to say this as far as make a diagnosis because this is not what this is. This is just for entertainment purposes. If you are going through something, there's a national crisis line. Call 911. They'll keep you safe. They'll send someone over. There's a suicide prevention line. They're open 24/7, including holidays. It doesn't matter if it's the middle of the night, if it's a Sunday. There's always someone there. But as far as for entertainment purposes, not to diagnose or anything like that, not that I'm capable of. Nope, not at all. So just for entertainment purposes, we may not have a personality disorder, but maybe we might have some traits. Maybe, maybe not. How do we know? Unless we are curious enough to check it out. At the end, the locus of control, we have more of insight, less insight. Our awareness, our perception, our blind spots, less, more, right? Less biases, more biases, right? So, what about obsessive-compulsive obsessions? I think we all kind of know what that might be. Compulsive, having a compulsion. Does it sound what I think it means? Maybe, but let's see. What is the definition by one of those textbooks that I have? Not the DSM-5. That one's a little pricey. I didn't want to recommend that one. I will have. Maybe I'll put it in the description. No, I don't know. But anyways, maybe I'll mention it on the next one. Or maybe I'll kind of go grab it. I don't know. It might make too much noise. But anyways, let's just call this a generic definition, maybe. A pervasive pattern of preoccupation. And I think that's one of those keywords, preoccupation. A pervasive pattern of preoccupation with orderliness, perfectionism, and mental and interpersonal control. There's that word, control. At the expense, at the expense of flexibility, openness, and efficiency beginning in early adulthood. So by the time you're finishing high school, maybe those tendencies tend to be more pervasive. By the time you're freshman in college, most people like to have the dorm life, and that's when you no longer have the parents to control. You begin to create your own control. But these tendencies, remember, this is something to the extreme. A pervasive pattern of preoccupation with orderliness, perfectionism, and mental and interpersonal control at the expense of flexibility, openness, and efficiency beginning in early adulthood. So yes, you begin to persevere just over and over, obsess over and over. You spend too much time on something. If it is a paper, right, you have, when you're a freshman in college, if you take 16 classes, scratch that. 16 credits, 18 credits, 22 credits, right? Whatever goes for full time nowadays. I'm on a loop-ish. So you have all these classes, do you have all these deadlines, and there you are with one of those how do you say it? Perfectionism. Sorry, that didn't come out too perfect, right? Perfectionism. Was that pet peeve of yours? I know I'm teasing, but right, the preoccupation, pervasive. It's all over the place, overwhelming. It will throw a monkey wrench in the whole gambit. You will get stuck. It will get in the way. You will be late. You won't make deadlines. It would just be overwhelming. And the anxiety, this didn't mention anything about the anxiety portion, but I think there is some of that neuroticism. And I know I haven't gotten into that neuroticism, but people in the TLC, they're familiar with the big five. Sorry, I know it as a big five. The 5 factor of personality. And one of those is neuroticism, conscientiousness. But anyways, let me move on here. So one of the things that you might see, if maybe a trait that you might have, maybe it's not complete preoccupation. Maybe you're not towards the perfectionism. Maybe you just like to do good work. There's nothing wrong with that. Is there such thing as going overboard? Is there such thing as just writing it again and again, redo more and more, and you meet the deadline? No, you didn't meet the deadline. No, you didn't turn it in. Right? Artists that never finish because it's just not perfect enough, and then somebody else that maybe not so preoccupied with perfectionism, maybe they put out 10 works that are good, really good, maybe not perfect in their eyes, but 10 works, and compared to one that's still not finished because you're searching for perfection. So what might you see? Occupied with details, lists, rules, or orders. I think those are openness or lack of. Remember the what I mentioned about the being stable, and you like order and like policy and rules. You really like that? Well, this is to the extreme, I'm assuming, right? Question mark for entertainment purposes. Is occupied with details, lists, rules, orders, organization, or agendas, and just you're all over that to the point. How obsessed, how compulsive, to the right, where it just gets in the way, right? You lose the purpose, the why, right? The assignment is due, the project is due, the task is not to have it perfect, it's to learn. Do you do the due diligence, the research? Do you write up your results, your findings, your ideas? They don't have to be perfect. They just have to show that you learned something, right? Did you lose track of the goal, the why, right? It will still get you a good grade. It might still get you an A. Do you need that do you really need that 4.0? Really? Do you really need it? Why do you need it? What's the motive behind that? Everybody will have a different reason. Call me silly, call me crazy, maybe call me a slacker. I didn't feel the need to have a 4.0. As a matter of fact, I didn't have a 4.0 when I graduated. I changed my major a few times, so whoops. No, that wasn't my goal, and I never did. Some people would be like, ha, sucker. Yep, that's right. Maybe I'm a slacker. I'm okay with it. I'm okay in not being perfect. But anyways, yes, some of these might be overboard. The purpose, the goal, the objectivity, and I think I mentioned it before that my opinion, I don't believe that not one is perfect. There's none righteous, no, not one. That's a quote from the Bible. But yeah, there's no such, in my mind, there's no such thing as perfect. Perfect boss, no. Perfect spouse, no. Perfect parent, no. Perfect sibling, no. Perfect child, no. Perfect neighbor, no. Perfect coworker, no. Perfect stranger, no. Perfect anything, no. Perfect team, no. Perfect artist, no. Perfect actor, actress, no. Perfect anything. No. Perfect world, no. The seasons are always changing. Everything is changing. Nothing's perfect, in my opinion. For entertainment purposes, it's just my opinion. I've been wrong before. So anyways, shows perfectionism that interferes with task completion. Yeah, we lose. If you do suffer from that, you would lose. Or maybe, like I said, just maybe some traits of that. You just are head over heels over perfectionism. You might end up showing up late because you're always trying to finish it to a higher standard, to a perfect, that would be unattainable in a way, I suppose, in my opinion. Turning in the assignment late, not because you didn't do it, just because it wasn't perfect. It's extremely dedicated to work. That's not a bad thing, right? And efficiency, not bad either. but to the elimination of spare time and activities. So your whole identity, you don't really, guess your work, your project, your whatever, your career is your sole identity. And that may not be a problem if you want to innovate something, some renowned. There's a book I'm going to mention. So this time I was trying to pull it up. I will mention that because that is part of that, the theme of that book. Yes, but perfectionism, where you just hone in, is so awesome, groundbreaking, and your research is just far outsees a lot of people. And but yes, you don't have a personal life. You don't have that relationship. Whoopsie, right? And if you're gonna have family, yeah, everything's a trade-off. So another one might be meticulous, not such a bad thing, right? But scrupulous and rigid about etiquettes. This involves other people. Now that's where the controlling takes place, where you want everything. Oh no, don't do it. It must be like this, and then before you know it, you don't delegate anything to anyone because it has to be perfectly the way you want it. Rigid to the extreme, where all of a sudden you have all these employees, and instead of them doing what they're supposed to be doing, right? You want to take control, and all of a sudden you're swamped. You're too much to do for one person, and it hinders you. It gets in the way, and you're not as productive. Or the company's not as productive as it normally would, just because of that rigidness, because of that obsess of control. It has to be this way. It just has to be this way. It can't be. Yeah, you don't even, to the point where you don't even delegate when you should delegate. Yeah, I was going to go on a side trip. I'd like to, better not. So, not capable of throwing away worn out stuff. So that's a hoarder. Because it might just come in handy. To the point where receipts that make no sense and dirty boxes, maybe I'm seeing it from a TV show or something, but that's what I remember. But yes, hoarders, that could be a compulsive thing. Unwillingness to pass on task. I think I mentioned that about not being able to delegate when you should be delegating, where you have other people that in the work structure, but unwilling to pass on task, unwilling to delegate, unwilling to work with others unless they do it just the way you want it. And if you're not the boss, that's gonna be hard, especially if other your co-workers, they're just as important as you, right? You're not over them, and you're trying to tell them how to do. It's not gonna go well. Not gonna go well. It also mentions about a stingy spending habit towards the self or others. Very, very, very frugal. Again, we might. That's why I'm saying maybe we have some of these traits. Maybe not the whole gamut. Very stubborn. Did that have to do with the openness, though? Or maybe, right? Maybe they have to have all these to have the disorder, but very, very rigid. And again, going back to where I was saying, attempts to control or that hampers relationship. That will definitely, when you start telling your girlfriend, your fiance, your wife, just how to do this or that, it's not gonna go well. Not gonna go well. But anyways, there was a book that I didn't get a chance to mention it. My prior video, which is, I'm gonna upload both of them today, so it's gonna be the same. I think it's gonna be back to back because I won't be able to post for another month or so. But anyways, this is what I wanted to. So before I get to it, some books that I want to recommend. My preference, my biases. And these are older, believe it or not. These might be from the 70s, 60s, 70s, I believe. 50s, 60s, 70s. Eric Fromm, not a new psychiatrist, not a new psychologist. He's old school. He's got many works. And the way they used to write before, it's different. It's different than nowadays, right? Because this was before the internet. This was before the emails. This is before the texting and all those little, the messages just get smaller and smaller and smaller, and the books get smaller and smaller and smaller. So the way they are able to articulate and express themselves is different than, in my opinion. Maybe, or maybe not. Maybe that's not even the case. Maybe it's just me. Rollo May, he's got other books. Yes, I really enjoy his stuff. I've read some of this many years back. I think it's been maybe 5 years, at least 5 years, and their stuff is not fresh in my mind. But like I said, I just so many other books that I still haven't even got to, and they're in my queue, and I just have to check them out. But I will circle back and I will go over these again, maybe a year from now, maybe 2 years from now, hopefully, God willing. But yeah, anyways, Rollo May, good stuff. It may not be your stuff, especially if you're really young, because again, in the age of the text, in the age of the memes, in the age of everything's condensed, maybe not. I don't know. Viktor Frankl, again, he's more of the existentialist, or wait, just another word, I lost it. But yeah, he was during World War II and the Nazis. He ended up getting put in a camp, and he survived. He did see a lot of people that did not survive, and it was his experience. What a book! Just trying to explain it will not do it justice. You just have to check it out for yourself. Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. What? Hands down, highly recommend it. Dr. Irvin Yalom. He's newer, but not that newer psychiatrist or psychologist. He also has written some books. He also wrote a textbook. I got the textbook years back, and I still have it. I don't have it on here, but these are more like these are audible, because I like the hands-on, because I'm kind of busy. I wish I had more free time, but it is what it is. So I like to do, while I'm doing some things with my hands, I need my hands free. So the Audible app, what a wonderful thing it is. So this one is on Audible. I do have his textbook. I will review his stuff later. But anyways, on that personality stuff, he did write it on psychology and personality stuff. A lot of good stuff there. Very, very good stuff. Another one of his, what became one of the first ones that I read from him, Love's Executioner, and the stories there. Oh man, maybe it's not your thing. It is my thing. I'll throw that one on there, because these authors, they do have several books, but this one I really do like, and I will go over it again, because it's been years back. Some of the stuff is vaguely there, the ideas, the stories, but man, I will go over it again. Good stuff. The other one from Eric Fromm, like I said, he was very prolific, and his writing style is different than nowadays. So it might put you off, be like, oh, I can't do it, just can't do it. But again, he was before the age of the internet, before Google, before YouTube, before text messaging, before the meme wars and all that stuff. So different times. That movie about dark matter, no, it's on Apple. They adapted it. But the book, the notion of everything's a trade-off, this one takes the cake as far as the trade-offs, making decisions. This one, he's a very popular author, so you might be familiar with the story of dark matter and the notion of that, the ideas of making a decision and sticking to it, and then later on being like, I wonder what would have been like if I would have done the opposite. Well, this one takes the cake when it comes to that notion. I did mention earlier in my previous video, as far as what does it mean to succeed. I think Jesus said it best. What good is it if you gain the whole entire world and in the end you lose your soul? Ooh, wow, talk about a truth bomb there. As far as reality testing, yeah, that's major. Right. So yes, success depends on who you ask. It depends successful in what, right? If you end up one of those other books. It's not on here, but by Mark Manson. He is a bro. He is not. He didn't study psychology, but he is the bro psychologist ish. This is me talking, not him. But I was hesitant to get his book, even though it had a lot of good ratings, and other people had recommended it. But it was the title. It was The Subtle Art of Not Giving Up. FU*CK, and I was like, don't know. There's so many books out there, and I was like, I'm so glad I gave it a go. But anyways, as far as everything is, when it comes to compromising and choice, and everything's a trade-off. As far as when you succeed at what and at what cost? What is the trade-off? Right? I mentioned my dad. He did become a lawyer. He lost his family in the end, and in the end, he ended up giving up his career to chase after his family, and he wasn't able to make it work. So he ended up losing his family at the end of the day. What a bummer. So he did succeed in a way, but in other ways he didn't succeed. So I mean, obviously I took it personal. How can I not, right? So it does make me think, what does it mean to be content? What does it mean to succeed? And what did Jesus mean by it? What does it, right? What good is it if you gain the whole world and in the end you lose your soul? Something to ponder. And then I think it's in Matthew chapter 13 where he says, in that day many, few, no, halves, some, no, many. In that day many will come to me saying, Lord, Lord. If you haven't checked out chapter 13, highly recommend. I think it's chapter 7 as well. Chapter 7, chapter 5. Suggestion. I am a Christian, so it's a Christian perspective. So I know many in TLC. Some are not Christian. Some are even atheists. So I do apologize for that suggestion. But I am a Christian. Can't help it. I guess it just slipped out. But Christianese slipped out. Sorry. Next one. By same author, Recursion. This one has a different concept. As far as something to talk about, something to discuss for a book club. Have you checked it out? He's a popular author. And I hear that they're gonna was it Apple again? Apple that bought the rights to this. They're gonna adapt it. They're gonna make it a movie or a show or something. I think it's in the works. Have you read the book? Plenty to talk about there, right? What the concept? Oof, man, you have to. Anyways, I would like to talk to you about it if you're interested. If you're not interested, that's fine. There's plenty of other stuff to talk about. Science fiction, fantasy. That's one of the other things I do enjoy. There's some other ones. And maybe remember earlier in the other video about the openness. The first one that I was the fantasy. This is science fiction, but the first fantasy novel by Robert Jordan, The Wheel of Time. I think I was about 6 books in, and those were not small books. Some of those were like 600 pages. About the 6th one, I was all into it, but I was like, I like it, really enjoy it, but there's some other books, and it's going to take me forever. So I just set that aside, and I moved on to the next author. Was that because I was too open? I don't know. Is that why I went off the hinges? Is that why I lost complete control, and I had so many downward spirals? Is that why I fell so flat on my face? Was it because of my upbringing, or did it have to do with my personality? Earlier videos, I mentioned about the Reese monkeys experiments and about what they found out about the Romanian orphanage and the catastrophic after effects of neglect from early on. So I still don't know what makes us who we are, but I do know that we can change. And who better to change you than Christ if you allow him? You don't have to. If if you make him Lord, cannot serve two masters, my opinion. Fleshly pleasures become my master, and I listen, I obey every one of their prompts, or is Jesus my Lord and I obey his prompts at the neglecting the other, right? Choosing which one to serve while making the other one mad. Fleshly pressures that keep prompting me, and I neglect them and they get mad at me, in a sense, so to speak. Or do I go all in on my worldly pleasures and debauchery, make Jesus upset to the point where he's like, I never knew you, you doer of iniquity, depart from me, right? And then chapter 13, I'm paraphrasing that if you haven't checked it out. Matthew chapter 13. Also check out chapter 7. Rewind, start with chapter 5, why not? Want more? The whole book. Luke, no. Yeah, that's one good as well, but no. John, in the beginning was the Word, the Logos. The whole Gospel of John. But yeah, Matthew 7, 13, chapter 5 as well. Heck, go from chapter 5 all the way to chapter 25, 28. That's the whole book. 3 Body Problem, science fiction. Netflix has adapted it. When I listened to the first one, I could not stop. I was going to move on to the next author. No, not so much. I had to do the next one. Then after this next one, maybe I was going to move on to the next author. I had to do the whole 3. And then there was one with the fanfare. Yep. I devoured that one too. Netflix did a fairly good job. They did some, what do you call that? I lost the term. The freedom to adapt, where they do the imagination to creativity to redo some of the stuff. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I didn't think the story suffered. I liked it. I enjoyed both. But that's just me. Silly me. The next one, I think I mentioned this earlier. If you haven't, by Jonathan Haidt, The Anxious Generation. Now, I know Pete from Stretch Theology follows Joe Rogan, and I know he was on Joe Rogan. And again, he's a professor, current professor, and those that know that philosophy and psychology, they're extremely to the left, and he still has to be within that realm. So I do understand why he is cautious. He does say that he listens to both sides, but when he was on Joe Rogan and he pushed back, he had to admit, yep, you're right. So why does he admit that when he goes on to the next, I know, you have to read between the lines. He still has to live in that world, and he still wants to be a professor. I get it. I still recommend his book, The Anxious Generation. Back where we started. So that was that. So don't have much time. So some traits that we might have, I don't think, this is rare. You don't, when you run into somebody, you know there's something weird. Family member knows there's something wrong. But I know that mostly everyone from TLC came into the TLC's realm because of Jordan Peterson and then, PVK. So, I think a lot of us know about the big factor, the factor 5 of personality and all that good stuff. But, and I know many of you are on a quest to go running towards the sacred, not trying to avoid the sacred, and trying to have reverence for what's holy and the sacred. And as far as the reality testing and the locus of control, awareness, if we're aware of who we are, what we lack, can we adapt? Can we change? Can we deny ourselves? Can we pick up our cross and follow him? Can we be more like him? The whole process of salvation starts, yes, he saved us, yes. But then we give it, if you read Romans, that whole process of sanctification, which I think to Christians, that's where we're at. We're in the process of sanctification. Yes, we're saved. Yes, we're saved. Yes. But what now? Now we begin the Great Commission, and in that Great Commission, we do the process of sanctification. If it's been a while since you studied Romans, do encourage you to read Romans. Check it out. It's worthwhile. Sanctification, and then towards the end, maybe at the last day, that's when when we're caught up, when we are as we will one day be, right? The whole glorification. Yeah, that's the hope that lies within us, right? In Matthew, it mentions about when Peter. There was a few that were in a circle that got to see the transformation, where Jesus was transformed, and there was Moses and Elijah, right? And where Peter's like, "Oh, it's a good thing. Let me make tents and all that stuff," right? As far as in Thessalonians about in the last days that we will, the dead in Christ will rise up. I forget the details, but you know what I mean. That in those that are in the blinking of an eye, you know where I'm going with this, right? One day it will be glorification. That glorification, knowing us, knowing how we're meant to be known in a glorified body. Because Jesus, I made the distinction about Lazarus. He was brought back from the dead as other people, but Jesus was first fruit. He was resurrected. He still is alive in his glorified body. I'm talking about the glorified body. So sanctification. No, let me back up. Salvation, and we are now anybody that's still breathing is in the process of Christian, born again Christian. Born again is a Christian, not pseudo, not agnostics. In case you're wondering, First, Second John, warning about the Gnostics. I did a video. So as far as the early church fathers, they warned about the Gnostics as well. John taught Polycarp. So, and I think it's Irenaeus, Linus. As far as the teaching about the heresies, but anyways, I'm digressing. So, reality testing, prioritizing, awareness, being open, and then I know Luke Thompson always mentions this about relation. It's the relation. We're people, right? We are, right? 2 commandments. 1, love God with all your heart, mind, and soul, right? As if that's an easy task. Ooh. The second one, love your neighbor. Relationship. How do you love someone? How do you have a relationship? How do you communicate with them? Open-mindedness, constructive dialogue. You have to be aware. You have to be open to other people's opinions, their experience, their culture, right? Where they're coming from. If you read chapter 13 of Matthew, I'm telling you, you're going to see it a little bit different too. We can have that discussion, right? How can we have that discussion to the point where we don't end up arguing or even brawl, right? We shouldn't. We are brothers in Christ. Why should we be brawling? Constructive dialogue. Values. Do we change when we go towards the sacred? Do our values become higher values, and then do we begin to have higher goals? How do we prevent a downward spiral? Now, if we are broken, so if your engine breaks, or if there's something, if your transmission goes out, you don't take your car to a chemist. You don't take your car to a pharmacist. You take the car to a mechanic, right? Car mechanic, right? Sorry, that was freaked me out. Wasn't expecting that. And if you are broken as a person, and if you want some of that, if you're open to spirituality, right? Who's, metaphorically speaking, who is the best mechanic than Christ to heal the broken? Anyways, so I think I'm out of time. So That is the follow-up, I guess, to the very brief first video, and this is, I guess, same restraint. So alright, probably won't be able to post again until another month or so. So if I happen to catch your stream on the TLC, say hello, I will try to say hello to you, and until next time, Alex, the handle is the Solar Soul, and I will see you on the next one.